Hello, I'm Bruce Zimmerman, and this is the Open Line Garden Show podcast for this week. Now, let's do a few new plants for 2019. We've got a few perennials I'd like to do, and we'll do some roses and a few other things just to keep your interest going here. Phlox. Now, this is a tall phlox, the Peniculatus, and it is known as Unique bicolor. Now, this is a compact phlox, garden phlox, right? And it has tons of soft pink flowers with white eyes and bright pink specks. So it's got a lot of interest to it. It's earlier blooming than the tall summer phlox, and it will rebloom if deadheaded. It is mildew resistant, which is probably the most important thing when you're talking about tall phlox. But you do need to put it into full sun, and I would probably say that it is also going to need good air movement. This will help with its mildew resistance. It grows to 40 centimeters tall, and it's hardy to zone 4. And it comes from Valley Brook, so they do produce a lot of good plants. Now, Echinacea, I know you're saying, okay, another Echinacea. This is Kismet Intense Orange. I like the idea that it's an intense orange. It's deer resistant. Once it's established, it's a low water usage perennial, which many of the prairie species or background plants are. It has a very long bloom time. Due to a lot of persistent Echinacea breeding, the Kismet Intense Orange keeps blooming from early summer until frost. That's good. Hardiness is zone 4. And it's from Terra Nova Nurseries. That's who's going to be growing it and supplying it to others. Remember, a lot of these may or may not be available in your area, so you're going to have to check with your local garden centers. Then there's Stokesea. Now, Stokesea Mel's Blue is a aster. It's very upright, and it has 4-inch wide. Think of that. 4-inch wide periwinkle blue blooms that are held well above the foliage on long stems. Now that they're strong stems, so they're going to stand up. Therefore, this one is going to be very upright in its habit, and the flowers are facing up. That's good. It makes them better, nicer looking in the garden. The hardiness is zone 5 and is from Plants Novo. Now, so you can try the Stokesea, but the Echinacea is probably going to be much easier. And of course, if you're looking for a decent phlox, you're going to go with the phlox. Tall phlox in my garden are very difficult to deal with. I've got a tall phlox that is going to be edited from the garden in the spring. Now, the roses that are going to be available in 2019. Let's start with the new one from the 49th Parallel Collection. This is Chinook Sunrise. It's a shrub rose. It is the second one in the 49th Parallel Collection. It has very few petals. In other words, it's got maybe 6, 8 petals. So it's very open in its habit. You're going to see these stamens. It drops clean so that you've got petals on the ground, which you may or may not want to clean up. But you do, in my opinion, always have to deadhead a lot of these. But this one will continue to bloom even if you don't. So, you've got a low-maintenance plant that is mature and wide by about 1.2 meters. So that's like 4 foot by 4 foot. It is black spot tolerant. Its winter hardiness is across all of Canada, hardy to zone 3. And it's being grown and produced and sold into the industry by Sheridan Nurseries and J.C. Backer and Sons. Now, I've seen pictures of the fields of the J.C. Backer ones of this particular plant, and yes, very consistent, very, very floriferous, and it does drop nice and clean. Now, from Star Roses and Plants, Rosa Cherry Frost Overd Climb. Now, this is a climbing rose. It's cherry frost. It's got good solid canes, hardy to zone 4. They've got clusters of smaller red blooms that repeat throughout the season, and lots of them. It has superior disease resistance and performs well on its own roots. So that makes this a very, very interesting plant to grow. On its own roots, disease resistance, and of course, it just repeat blooms, and that's what you really, really want. From Star Roses and Plants, that is Cherry Frost Overd Climbing Rose. The next rose is Sonorita, is Rosa Sonorita. It is a shrub rose. It has classic rose flowers. They start out orange and transfer into hues of gold and yellow. And as they open and mature, they change the color. So that we've seen before in roses. It's a good continuous bloomer. That's something we don't always get in shrub roses. Healthy, glossy, dark green foliage, like that part right there. Sheridan Nurseries is the grower, and they will be producing it and putting it into garden centers. Go early. I think this one is going to be the next one for people really wanting to get. And then there's Rosa rugosa Lottie's Love. Now this is a shrub rose, and it is one of the rugosas, which means it usually has a few more thorns than you're used to. And it's very, very tough. Lottie's Love is a first edition selection. It has a cinnamon-scented rose, I like that part, with large semi-double flowers that are very deep shade of mauve, which I like as well. So you're looking at a fragrant rose with basically nice large flowers and, of course, fragrance as well. So this is a shrub rose. It's medium in size and height, glossy green foliage, hardy to zone 3. Yes. And it's from Bailey Nurseries. So that is an excellent one right there. Let's do a few of the edibles. Now the edibles are... A lot of people don't really look at these ones. They just go buy what they always buy. But there is some improvements being made in the breeding of vegetables, and you need to make sure that you're getting the best, the newest, the greatest, right? Okay, the first one is Butter Baby Squash. Now, this is a butternut squash. It is Butter Baby. Produces an abundance of the sweet, personalized fruit. I like this part. Nobody touches my butternut squash. The fruit is classic light tan in color. It has excellent storage quality, which means it's going to last through the winter. And also make it more available to growers and garden centers and, of course, grocery stores. The fruit is going to be a reasonable size. They're individuals, so they're not huge, woody monsters, which I also like. You have to restrict the vines a little bit, but in most cases you'll find that it won't take over your garden. That's good right there. It has resistance to powdery mildew, and it is an excellent one to give you a very high quantity as well as quality fruit harvest. It's from Pan American Seed. And then again from Pan American Seed, we're talking peppers. Now, this is a Primo Red. Now, this is a habanero type pepper. It ripens like a habanero, and it also goes and is ready to harvest and enjoy all the time. So this pepper is an excellent one. It is as early as bell peppers, which is a good thing actually. And I think you'll find that this one goes well with a lot of the fresh salsa and cooking, etc. It's got a very rich flavor. And I think you're going to like this one. Okay? The next one is also a pepper. It's Snackabelle. Now, we've tried Snackabelle in trials before, and I think it was a couple of years ago. It is a mini bell pepper. It's green and then ripens to dark red. It is excellent, and you want to really pick this one red. It's got a sweet flavor, which is typical of Snackabelles. It's great for cooking, as well as for just regular snack eating. At least you're getting a decent snack, right, Mom? And, of course, there are other things about it you're going to like. It's a compact little plant that's good in the garden and in containers. So you're going to like that part as well. And I want you to try this one. I think what we found was it was a very nice tasting sweet pepper. It's a mini bell. It ripens from green to red, and you want to pick it as sweet as possible, so red. And we have tasted it, and we did like it as well. So that's from Pan American Seed, and you need to go and take a look in your garden centers. Maybe make some calls this winter and see who is growing what and what will be available. Maybe how many, or maybe even put in an order if you're confident and assured that this is the ones you need. I'm Bruce Zimmerman. This is the Open Line Garden Show podcast for this week.